this thing, but I understand that you're kind of thinking the Salvation Army should use the sacraments a little bit. What's that all about?
Yeah. So might not know, maybe you know through your family's tradition that for the first several years of the Salvation Army's history, we did practice the traditional Protestant
Oh, is that right?
sacraments. Yeah.
Huh?
So found in 1865. And as Salvation Army is developing, 13 years after the start, became the Salvation Army, no longer the Christian mission. And this military metaphor picked up, and there's this real sense that like, if we just apply these methods, the whole world can come to Jesus. And let's just not get too caught on things that divide people. And also, we're not really a church. And so let's just focus on getting people saved. And after all, there's some theological justification for this too. The idea of holiness being this concept that we are in ourselves, our lives are a sacrament. These are all like kind of ideas that we wanted to move away from ritualistic Christianity.
Yeah.
But sadly, what happens is we created our own ritualistic Christianity, and it involved uniforms and ranks and some things that God has used, right? And we created our own sacraments, and we really, no matter how we can say it sociologically, are a church. And so there's a resistance to the idea of the language of church. And so even William Booth in 1883, when he moves away from the sacrament, says since we're not a church, we don't need to do this. And really, this is in the context of the Church of England. Like that's who the church was. There weren't churches like we have our denominations. So all of this kind of enters into this stew of confusion about an identity. And really what needs to I think clearly the Salvation Army is a church. We're part of the universal church. We have very orthodox doctrines. We might not be Presbyterians, Brian, but we are in this like Wesleyan tradition. And all of that's because this is the one thing that's unique. It's this strange thing that we have, and it really separates us and at times keeps us out of deeper communion with other Christians because they question rather not we're a part of the church.
I get that. So why do you want to bring this? So given the potentials for abuse, for ritualism, for division, why do you want the sacraments to be brought back in? What you got along well without them? What do you need them for?
Yeah, well, a couple of reasons. It's because I have the Brian Ficker in me. I like to challenge things, and I'd like to make people mad. So I'm in this situation where I think the most common reason is Scripture. Like Scripture is incredibly clear, and we've gone back and reinterpreted Scripture our own way. And there's some clever ways that you could say things, but essentially we're moving against the history of interpretation. Scripture's first. Secondly, I call the good thing argument. It's really good.
Yeah,
taking the Lord's Supper is a beautiful thing. The public declaration of this of baptism is connecting you to the church universal. Like this. And then also our connection to the universal church. Like I think the Salvation Army, as you've highlighted, has something unique to offer the church as a whole. Not that the church is wrong, but like we have a unique flavor, and it's not our non-sacramentalism. It's the fact that God's called us to proclaim a holistic gospel, and we do it in a unique way. So I think that message is minimized because of people are suspect of us, other denominations.
I love that. And actually, in Becoming Whole, we make the rather strange argument that the Lord's Supper is part of poverty alleviation.
Hello.
Not because